I'm just making a claim here, but the New York Times is essentially backing up some of the claim with this piece. What do you think is what is the thing that you say, I cannot believe people were convinced to do this or had to do this in all of COVID?
There's a ton of things that the data would reflect. Like, we've obviously ridiculed masks. We have ridiculed schools ever shutting down, lockdowns in general. None of the data supports this. But I would argue that the dumbest thing that probably exists, in my opinion, is some of these public venues. I'm going to give you two options. One is wearing a mask until you sit down in a restaurant, which there's no one on earth who can possibly say that makes sense. The other are these shields that people are putting in place, like when you go into a convenience store or whatever else.
This is Family Feud or whatever. You get the pot. You win. That is
the answer. The ding, ding, ding.
The Wheel of Fortune, Daily. I don't watch enough of these shows. I used to.
And these things are coming back now. They started to go away, right? The shields.
But so here's what's so important for everyone to understand. Because remember, the science, if you agree with Clay and Buck, if you agree with us, you are denying the science, and people will freak out at you about that, right? However, the most recent data, and this is from the New York Times, from top-level academics at universities to study air ventilation engineering, let me just give the headline, Clay.
Yes.
Those anti-COVID plastic barriers probably don't help, it says, and may make things worse.
Of course.
So we've had these plastic barriers up. Now, a lot of things don't help, right? Like we know that the whole put your feet here in the elevator, but making things worse is a level beyond. Here's what this actually says. In this piece, it says there may be a particular problem in places like classrooms where people are present for a longer period of time, where interrupting the airflow can create pockets of COVID in the air. So by creating these barriers, what you're actually going to do is interrupt normal airflow. This is what this New York Times piece says, and essentially create Clay, you're in a restaurant, you're behind the plexiglass, and it's, this is keeping you safe from COVID. It's actually making you sit while you're eating your foie gras or whatever, your chicken wings, in a cloud of COVID, according to the laws of aerodynamics in this article. Think about that. It's worse for you.
It is, and I hope that in the years ahead, we're eventually going to get studies to prove. I think this is one of many things that actually makes things worse and or doesn't help at all. And it doesn't surprise me. I want to see a study on these stupid restaurants that require you to wear a mask when you walk into the restaurant and to your seat. And then once you're seated, you can take immediately your mask off. I mean, I think that's probably the dumbest rule that exists.
I also believe that masking was essentially compliance training and also elevated people's anxiety because it's a constant reminder that you're supposed to be scared. And so then they're more likely to do all these other. It's like masking is the center of the whirlpool. Like, this is the thing that brings everything else down with it.